Hello viewers, I'm Ronn Grant coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. You're watching 284 Media. Thank you so much for your time. A number of issues continue to plague the workforce and development here in the territory of the Virgin Islands. I am today joined by newly appointed Minister for Natural Resources and Labor and 2nd District Representative, the Honorable Melvin Mitch Turnbull. He is, of course, going to address a number of these issues as well as provide an overview of his office since taking up the role of Natural Resources and Labor Minister. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Yo, everything good, Dad?
Why? This thing got me one way, Daddy.
What do you mean?
Ever since I hook up with this thing, can't eat, I can't sleep. This is the first thing I touch it when I reach home.
What you really? Hey, this ain't like you, know.
Dad, this thing got me staying home, keeping out of trouble me.
Wow. What your name is?
Shit, I talking about my CCT life.
Don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Come to CCT today and sign up for CCT Live to access over 80 channels. CCT Live. Bring it home.
1 month free trial turn into 5. 5 months turn into, well, you know I huff. I watching ball. I been watching football. Dad, Nickelodeon, Paw Patrol. I am hooked. Hook, I tell you.
Hello viewers and welcome back once again. Thank you so much for sticking with us. As promised, I'm joined by 2nd District Representative and newly appointed Minister for Natural Resources and Labor, the Honorable Melvin Mitch Turnbull. Honorable Turnbull, good day and thank you so much for your time.
Good day, Ron. Good day to the people of 284 Media, to the wider Virgin Islands community, and especially my 2nd District community. It is a pleasure to be here on this day.
I want to begin with you providing an overview of the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor since taking office. Can you speak to providing an overview as to any changes?
Well, Ron, thank you. It has been about a month and just about 12 days since I have been appointed, and as I have been telling the staff in the ministry as well as the departments, I am on a 24-hour at a time appointment. And that's how I'm going to live my life, because I want to ensure that every day that I give to this service within the ministry, that I am giving my best. As a part of this government and national unity under the leadership of Dr. Natalia D. Wheatley, we have pledged and we have done the work, including so far you've heard from the UK minister through the governor in his announcement and the premier, that we have done the work, put our hands to the plow to ensure that we have been given this grace to allow our Constitution not to be suspended and do the work for the reforms within the CUI recommendations. So as the Minister now for Natural Resources and Labor, it has been the last month and, like I said, 12 days have been intentional. It has been intense in terms of getting to understand. So persons might have said, you know, I am quiet, they haven't seen me, they haven't heard from me, which is rightfully so. But when I believe it's important that any job that you do, you must understand what you're doing. So it took a time reading, getting familiar with the laws, getting familiar with the areas of my responsibility. And I have took to meeting with, I would say, what is the quote unquote most problematic issue within the ministry, which is dealing with the Labor Department, and I started to deal with that first. But I have met with the team, the heads of departments. Started with the ministry, the Department of Labor, met with the commissioner and all 19 staff, including the 5 staff on the island of Virgin Gorda, to understand. And I don't just do the top-down approach, right? I just don't meet with management. My approach and my belief is meet with the persons on the ground so we understand if the systems are working, if what they're doing is working, the challenges that they have, the difficulties that they have, even the success stories that we might not be telling because it's overshadowed by some of the negatives that's coming out. So I have taken that approach. We concluded those meetings on Virgin Gorda actually on last week Friday, and now we have developed a plan. A report is going to come out that we present back to the employees, the commissioner, Mrs. Michelle McLean, and her team, who have been working hard to present a proposal back. But it goes beyond that, Ron. We have a job in the public service, in this public sector, to be the servants of the people, the customer that we serve. So it now entails now, after this is completed, we are going out to the end users, which is the stakeholders, the Chamber of Commerce, the persons in the yacht and the business community within the territory. And we want to hear, yes, they're going to be upset and they're going to explain and express their frustrations, but we also want to hear solutions so that when put together, we can take the solutions from the persons within the workforce society, as well as the solutions that we see internally, and merge them together on, so that we can provide a service that if a work permit, new work permit is supposed to take 6 to 8 weeks to process, we are meeting those deadlines. If it is supposed to take 2 to 4 weeks for a renewal, we are meeting those deadlines and ensuring that throughout the entire process, make it as seamlessly as possible, but ensure effectiveness and efficiency is realized to boost the overall morale of the staff. Because one of the challenges that we see within the labor and workforce department is you have 19 staff dealing with a workforce in this territory of about 19,000 persons. So we are already against the grain, so to speak, but I believe it is possible because the very word says, you know, some people might say, Mitch, you're given an impossible task. But the word impossible, if you split it up very well, says impossible. And I believe we have the capacity to be able to do what is necessary to change that department, as well as within the ministry itself. We have B32, which is one of the recommendations as a deal with Crown lands and lands as a whole within this territory and how we have dealt with that. That is something that we have been working over the last month to ensure that we have a response and a proposal to put back to the cabinet and the premier and the governor as to what the processes now will be as it deals and relates to Crown lands and how we distribute lands in that territory. But we're going beyond just what is recommended by the Commissioner Inquiry Report. We're going to do what is expected of us as a territory. We have now, as this government and national unity is now put together and we're working assiduously together, we have the opportunity to change the trajectory of our territory for generations yet to come, to propel and develop our people, even from the workforce development arm of it. That is an important arm that we want to use private and public partnerships, as well as the partnership with the education department, as well as a partnership with the HLS Community College, to ensure that we are preparing our people to get involved in the employments, get our employment services unit out to the communities to get them excited about work, because there is indeed a lot of work in the territory, but we must ensure that our people are prepared to do the job.
Honorable Minister, you mentioned quite a bit in that overview. I want to thank you. And let's take some time now to tackle some of the points that you raised. Of course, the matter of staffing, we're going to get to that. But what is the current status on the backlogs for both new work permits and renewals? Of course, you mentioned about the stakeholders, the clients, the people on the ground. The frustration continues to mount. Why is it that renewals are presently still taking more than a month to be processed?
Well, Ron, I would say two things based on the research that I've done and the interviews with the staff over the last 2.5 weeks. One of the things I always believe in, I believe it in my heart of hearts, systems don't work, people do. Until you get people to work in their right fit, then you get the systems to work. So we've had challenges even with the launch of the online system that created another nightmare of itself, that we're still working through those difficulties and challenges, even pulling applications out of that system. But what we have is, if you look at this entire process as a production line run, we have some bottlenecks and we have some areas that we need to, one of three things we need to address in terms of our customer service and our relations. When you bring a work permit into the Department of Labor, what are we doing to ensure that your application is completed before the officer receives it in his or her hand? And then it goes through a number of processes, Ron, that we have to evaluate. We have to go back and check and recheck to ensure that it is in fact effective, because at the end of it, you have delays, you have issues again with staffing, that you have one inspection officer, you have one person assigned to the employment services unit. So it is creating a challenge and a bottlenecks in areas that we want to address so that it could reduce the amount of time. Because what I said to the commissioner, Mrs. McLean, and her entire team, I want to create a system and a process that when someone enters the Labor Department of the Virgin Islands, that they get in and submit their application, pay whatever fees, and by the time they get it back, the process is as seamless as possible. So the backlog is a tremendous backlog right now. There are incomplete files. There are delays in terms of getting information back to people. And I believe one of the key things that we must focus on as well is communication with the persons whose applications are being processed. Let us respond to you and let you know, listen, we're working on it. We had a delay. We had a challenge. Your applications were missing this document or that document. But we have to ensure that we are getting back to the basics where we understand we are serving these customers and not doing them a favor. So it is an entire, a deep rooting of the entire system and the process to make it work. I spent some time in Virgin Gorda, myself and the Deputy Secretary, Ms. Hodge, who is now directly responsible for the Labor and Workforce Department. We spent some time there and we understand that there's a system in Virgin Gorda. Yes, they have less of a workload, but the system that they have is working a little bit more efficiently and effectively than we have in Tortola. So we're going to merge those ideas, those thoughts, and those plans. And I want to thank the persons, the commissioner and the entire team for the work that they are doing, that they have been doing. But we are now going to make a decision, Ron, because it is vision, decision, passion, and discipline. We're going to make a decision to get things done more effectively for the people of this Virgin Islands.
And speaking of working to get things done more efficiently, I want you to speak to the business community. Have you set a time frame for exactly how soon they could expect some level of ease as it pertains to this matter?
Well, most definitely, Ron. We started the Premier, under the leadership of the Premier, we've started on yesterday the series of community meetings as it relates to the COI recommendations. And we know even yesterday, questions came up surrounding work permit and surrounding the areas of the other ministers within the government of national unity. So the conversations could start then, but directly for myself as minister and the team who is going to go out, immediately after these meetings have been concluded, which I believe are in the first week of July, immediately after that, I believe it's the second week of July, we will be having stakeholder meetings from the Chamber of Commerce to the Marine Society to the small business to some of the larger businesses, just to have get out to them and hear their complaint, hear their concerns, and more so importantly, hear the solutions to how they think this process could be more streamlined and more effective.
Minister, you mentioned also briefly about customer service and enhancing the customer service experience. Yes. For example, as it pertains to, we were speaking about the backlog of work permits taking over in excess of a month. Nothing new has changed. Time continues to elapse and persons are then required to pay for extended time. Speaking of customer service, why should businesses and persons continuously be made to foot the $25 extension fee when the delays are not exactly the fault of theirs? Can't the government waive these fees, particularly in certain special circumstances when it really does not have anything to do with the consumer?
Well, Ron, I wholeheartedly agree with you. The customers and the employees should not be faced with continuing to pay $25 for time, and even be faced with the areas where you hear after they have received extensions waiting for a work permit that they now have to leave the territory for which they have now called home. Ron, I believe in treating people fairly and not less than. The people in this territory are no less than anyone else. But what I believe we must do is put the systems and procedures and processes in place that makes it more effective. Right now, Ron, we have a broken system. I'll be the first to admit it. Yes, it is my responsibility. Yes, I am now the minister responsible, but I am working actively, intensely, Ron, to fix that problem so we don't have those complaints going forward, because it is not right. The policy to waive those fees would be one, because it is a financial policy, will be one that the Minister of Finance, which is the Premier, and Dr. Wheatley, would have to make. But remember, we're also dealing with now the separation once again with immigration and labor. Immigration has now returned to the Premier's office, and labor stands with me. So we have to ensure that there's a systematic approach in terms of the systems that deal with revenues, that deal with the process of work permits, including labor, that we have something put in place that can deal with these persons and these transactions effectively and efficiently. Because right now what we have is not working.
I understand that that is a matter for in the final analysis, the Minister for Finance. However, as Minister of Labor, are you prepared and will you rally for some of these changes to be effective to enhance the customer service, whether it be through the Minister of Finance or whoever may have that final decision?
Well, Ron, what I'm going to do right now, I view every challenge as an opportunity. Every challenge that I face in my life, I view it as an opportunity to improve or enhance myself and or the people around me. So what's simply on the table for me right now is fixing the broken pieces of the system to ensure that we don't have the issue of continuing to pay for work permits. So even while I'm sitting here right now, there are teams of persons working in the ministry, within the Labor Department, to deal with the backlog, to address some of these issues. And going forward, Ron, I want to assure the people of the Virgin Islands, as has been reiterated by the Premier in partnership with the Governor and the United Kingdom, that the resources needed for staffing, for technical support, and even financial resources are going to be given through the 2022-2023 budget, as well as technical support from the United Kingdom to put the persons in place, to put the resources in place, including the training for customer service, the public partnerships that I talk, public-private partnerships that I talk about, persons like Hire BVI, some of the HR firms within the territory, or HR managers within the territory from these trust companies, who we're going to get to build and help support the systems that we need to put in place. So, Ron, it is not just dealing with one thing versus the other. It is a comprehensive approach that we are attacking so that the Labor and Workforce Department doesn't have and continue to wear the stigma of the Work Permit Department. Or I now, as Minister, I understand that my stigma is I am the Work Permit Minister.
Honorable Minister, you spoke about solutions. Has the government or your ministry considered issuing multi-layer work permits? Is that something that is being considered? Is it on the table? If so, if not, why not? And if yes, how soon can these considerations be made?
Well, Ron, there are actually multi-layer permits that exist. Okay. Again, there are parts within the systems that needs to be improved upon, because delays happen through the process. Some of the delays, I must say, happens from the employer standpoint. So when you drop off a work permit, you might start to count your time from the time you dropped it off. But if one of the employees or one of the staff has to be contacting you for additional information or supporting documents, you're counting your time that it's been in, for example, since January. But until we got a completed application, that's when the time should actually start. So there are areas of improvement specifically, and I will own it, specifically from the Department of Labor and the staff in there. But there's also partnership that needs to be established and fully understood and comprehended by the employers as well. And one of the easiest ways that we plan to address that, Ron, is as simple as putting the screen in the front. One of the suggestions that came from the staff, putting a screen in the front that depicts how you fill out, complete a work permit application, all the required documents, so that when you get to the reception or the cashier's area, you know for a fact that we don't have to have staff coming out and completing these forms and ensuring that time is taken away from their process to doing the job. But we're having it in different languages to, again, ease the process through that production line to get it done. But the layers do exist in terms of executive work permits, in terms of fast track and able to expedite your work permits. There are different facets of the system. We just have to get them working.
All right. Now, you mentioned this earlier as a hurdle which has caused the backlog, but what's the update on the online work permit system, which has been offline for a few months now?
Ron, I have to be responsible in this answer. Right now, it has been put on the side for assessment and reassessment. And we need to ensure that the things that we want the system to do, that we ensure that all those aspects of the system is actually input into the system for it to work. But testing and retesting and ensuring that needs to be done. I believe what we failed to do, and I'll just be as honest as possible, what we failed to do is test, and retest to ensure that it was doing what we wanted to do. What we did is kind of a rushed approach to said we were doing something, and that's not the way I operate, because at the end of the day, we have to focus not just on someone getting the work permit, but how it correlates and how it relates to the other areas of the economy. Because if I have my staff coming in and spending a day or 2 or 3 days or weeks at a time within the labor department, it is affecting the bottom line. It is affecting how the economy grows or not grows or is stagnated. So I look at it from a holistic, from a macroeconomic standpoint, not just what I have to do or what we have to do within the labor department, but how it affects everything else, from education to the sourcing, to the work pool, to the training, to the customer service, to the dispute officers, to everything that happens in inspection, out to that end where you get your document in your hand and you are able to walk through the door legal, morally, and ethically with your work permit.
Thank you. So we can confirm that system has been put on the side for further evaluation.
That
you
is
mentioned
correct.
earlier about the Labor Department having 19
Yes.
persons working in that department. Let us address staffing, because it is obvious that your department, and you may disagree, is not adequately staffed. What is being done to rectify that?
Well, I would agree with you, Ron. It is not adequately staffed. And that is something, again, that the Premier has made a commitment, and I have ensured to the Commissioner and the persons within the territory. I've said it even in the House of Assembly just about a week ago, that we will ensure that the staffing, not just staffing for the sake of staffing, because there are some shifts that will be taking place, Ron. There are some people that we would have to move to ensure that effectiveness and efficiency is realized. So staffing from one side in terms of hiring additional people, well, we also need to make some changes and transition with some of the staffing that we had to make it more effective. So I believe at the end of this entire process, I think I said earlier, within the next 2 to 3 months, persons will see an effective change and realize the difference or the transformation within the Labor Department, specifically as it deals with workforce development and the processing of work permits.
Honorable Minister, a lot has been said. In the final analysis, we continue to see the efforts seemingly made in regards to systems. You spoke a lot about essentially the antiquated systems that are still in place. As we segue out of the labor issues, I do want you to speak to the business community across the territory that is, for lack of a better word, frustrated. I need you to address them and speak to them as they are waiting in limbo, many of them, and trying to be patient with the shifts and the happenings of the Labor Department.
Well, thank you, Ron, for that opportunity. I just want to assure the business community that I am not just sitting on my laurel doing nothing or celebrating the fact that I have this 24-hour appointment as minister. What we're doing is ensuring, and I understand more than persons may know, I understand how business works. I understand how economies work, because that's my training in finance. So anything that is hindering your production or your effectiveness or efficiently affects not just you, but it affects the overall economy. And I am working with the team within the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor, within the team of the Department of Commissioner and her team, to ensure that we address these issues, because doing nothing about it is not an option. So we are working efficiently and effectively. A report actually will be completed and presented to myself on Friday, and then passed on to the Premier with how we deal with the first phase, what the internal issues within the department, as well as we're going to be now partnering directly, hands-on approach from myself and the team to get some of this backlog addressed so that persons can carry on with the duties. But I want persons to also know, Ron, because I am not just one who's going to rubber stamp everything. No is an answer. If you don't complete your documents, or if they found that through the evaluations and the processes that your application does not meet the criteria, no is also an answer. So I want the persons to know that while we're working to deal with the backlog and deal with this process, there is also an answer. No, but we're going to work to ensure that the education, the enforcement, and the reform that is needed within the department is addressed. Like I said, as soon as these meetings are concluded with the CUI recommendations and the proposal that was accepted by the UK, yours truly and the team will be out having stakeholder meetings, end user meetings with our customers to assure that we are not just having a conversation, but we're affecting the conversation with the change that is needed. I also want to, I'm hoping I'm not jumping the gun, Ron, while I am appointed minister, I want to recognize, acknowledge, and humbly express my gratitude to the people of the 2nd District who elected me, who put their trust in me, and I want to let them know that I have not forgotten about them. You will be seeing me very shortly, but it has been a very intense time getting things in order in terms of trying to secure the Constitution and keep it safe to get to us to the next process. So the people of the 2nd District are who put me here, and I remain eternally grateful to them for their confidence and trust.
Honorable Minister, you did mention in the beginning that your focus during the past month and 12 days have really been the Department and Ministry of Labor. Of course, natural resources from Jost Van Dyke to Virgin Gorda, Anegada, the people of Anegada on a daily basis continue to face issues. And of course, here on Tortola as well, as it pertains to natural resources. When we think of our beaches to land. Tell us about your take in moving forward and giving the aspect of natural resources some well-needed attention.
Well, Ron, the natural resources is everything to the BVI, to any country. Without your natural resources, without your land, without your beaches, without your water, without everything that we have that is naturally God-given to us, nothing else exists. And I believe the promotion within the ministry, I believe one of the shortfalls that we have is we haven't been promoting, we haven't been educating, we haven't been even celebrating some of the wins that we've been able to achieve. So education is absolutely important. In Anegada, we know there are land issues. Virgin Gorda, Tortola, Jost Van Dyke, all of them exist. But our natural resources, you've heard me say it in the House of Assembly, well, how we deal with our ponds, how we deal with pollutions, how we deal with our beaches, how we deal with how we just treat the environment is absolutely important. Climate change is absolutely necessary. We are surrounded by ocean. What are we doing to preserve and protect the ocean and protect the resources that God has given us? We know we're dealing right now, we're in the summer months where we're dealing with the sargassum. How are we going to now find a creative way, not just, yes, it is necessary at this time to just take a HIMAC and scoop out what are the creative ways, what are the innovative ways that we can look around the world and see how they deal with the sargassum to either produce something else or be able to invest in another area. So it is absolutely important. It is not lost on me, but I believe what was important for me is to tackle, quote unquote, the most difficult or most challenging part or aspect of this ministry, which was labor. But we are systematically working towards addressing the other issues while dealing with this first and foremost issue with the work permit, as well as the proposal that we have for the recommendation B32 with how we deal with lands in the territory. We're about 70% complete over the last 3.5 weeks to a month that we've been working to put a proposal together, a very broad proposal and very specific guidelines with how we deal with lands in this territory, which has to be presented to the Premier and the Governor and then Cabinet.
Honorable Minister, I want to thank you so much for your time. As always, we do appreciate you coming and bringing to light some of the issues as well as solutions that are being worked on through the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor. Thank you once again for being here.
Thank you, Ron. And I also want to, before I end, just extend condolences to the families of those who have lost loved ones. Mervyn Thomas, who's lost his wife, Bradley Dawson, who was my friend and my brother, and all persons within my community, within the territory, who are mourning and going through this time of bereavement. My heart, my prayers are extended to you, and I know that God will continue to comfort you. But overall, Ron, I am hopeful that we have this opportunity to bring about a change, to bring about what is necessary for the development of our territory and its people.
Viewers, that's all the time we have. We'll see you later. Have a beautiful rest of the day. I'm Ronn Grant reporting for 284 Media.